Welcome back to my channel. My name is South from Fantasia and I am a digital artist. In this video I will show you how to combine these two images to create an interesting and amazing image. If you would like to work on this image yourself, I have provided the link to download them in the description below. If this is your first time on my YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more amazing Photoshop photo manipulation tutorials. Now let me show you the final result of this image before we get into the Photoshop tutorial. We will begin by using an image that I downloaded from splash.com, and now let's drag the panda image into the Photoshop. Next we will use the marquee selection tool to make a selection of the panda's face like this. Then we will hit Ctrl Shift plus I to invert the selection and hit delete key on the keyboard to remove the unwanted area. Now we will click on the background image layer to select it and hit Ctrl plus J to duplicate it. We will then drag it to the top. Next we will use the pen tool by pressing P key on keyboard to make a selection. Take your time to make the selection and I will speed up the video a bit. After making the selection, click on the mask icon at the bottom of the layer panel. Then select the panda layer and hit Ctrl plus T to transform it. Make it a little bit bigger and drag it to the center. Now it looks good. Now click on filter and then camera filter. Make sure you have selected the panda layer and click on basics to expand it. Move the texture slider to the right to give the image a little bit of texture effect. Then move the clarity slider to the right as well. Click on color mixer to expand it. Then click on saturation. Move the orange slider to the left to desaturate and move the yellow and red sliders to the left as well. Move the green slider to the right to add a little bit of green color to the image. Click on luminous and move the orange slider to the right to make it a little bit brighter. Experiment with these sliders to see how they work for you. Again, click on basics to expand it and move the contrast slider a little bit to the right to add contrast to the image. Move the exposure slider just a little bit to the right as well. Click on OK and now the image looks much better. Next, select the pen tool by pressing P key on keyboard. Make sure to select the leaf image layer at the top and make a selection of the leaf. After making the selection of the leaf, hit Ctrl plus J on the keyboard to duplicate it. Drag the leaf to this place and hit Ctrl plus T, right click and click on flip vertical. Then rotate it and make it a little bit smaller to fit into this place. Now hide this leaf by clicking on the eye icon on the leaf layer. Make a selection of this leaf and make sure you have selected this layer. Then hit Ctrl plus J to duplicate it. Drag this leaf to this place and make it visible. Hit Ctrl plus T to transform it. Right click and click on flip horizontal to flip horizontal. Rotate it, drag it to this place and make it a little bit smaller to fit into this place. Now rotate this leaf and rotate this leaf a little bit and drag it there. It looks great. Click on the mask icon on this layer and select the brush by pressing B key on keyboard. Right click and make the hardness of the brush between 85 to 95%. Increase the flow and opacity to 100% and change the foreground color to black. Now erase this leaf to fix it, and I think we should decrease the hardness a little bit more like this. Take your time to fix it. If you erase an area that you don't want to erase, change the foreground color to white and paint on those areas to bring them back. For now I am going to leave it like this. Now select these layers and hit Ctrl plus Z to add these layers to the group. Let's move on to the next step. This is going to take some time to make the image look more realistic. I'm going to paint some shadows with the brush. Click on the panda layer and click on the plus icon at the bottom of the layer panel to create new empty layer above the panda layer. Now select the brush by pressing B key on keyboard. Right click and increase the hardness to 85 to 95%. It is a little for you. where you want to make the leaves look like they are touching the panda face, you have to paint the hard shadow and paint it close to the leaves to make it look like they are touching the panda face. Now take your time to paint it perfectly. You can use the blend mode as well if you want. Expand this group and create a new empty layer above this layer by clicking on this plus icon at the bottom of the layer panel. Now paint shadows on this leaf to make it more realistic. It looks perfect now. Again click on this shadow layer and paint again perfectly if you have not painted before correctly. Create a new empty layer by clicking on the plus icon at the bottom of the layer panel. Here is the next tip for you. If you want to make it look like there are some leaves that are not touching the panda face, you have to paint the shadows with the soft round brush and just a little bit far away from the leaves to make it look like there is a little gap. There is a little gap between the panda and the leaves. Now take your time to paint the shadow to make it look more realistic. I think it's getting much better for now. Click on the panda layer and click on the half circle icon at the bottom of the layer panel. Click on curves and drag this line down to make it a little bit darker like this. Hit Ctrl plus I to inverse it. Now select the brush by pressing the B key on keyboard and change the foreground color to white by clicking on this icon. Now paint some shadows on the face with the soft and light opacity brush and paint on those areas where you think it's too bright for you. After that, again click on the half circle icon and again click on the curves and again drag this line down a little bit to make it a little bit darker. Click and drag this layer to the top and hit Ctrl plus I to inverse it. Paint some shadows on the leaves on those areas where they are too bright. After painting shadows on the leaves, create a new empty layer above this layer and paint some shadows on these leaves as well. Now click on the top layer and hit C key on keyboard to crop it and crop like this. Now hit Ctrl Shift Alt plus E on keyboard to merge these layers into one. Let's move on to the final step. Now click on the filter and the camera filter. Move the slider to experiment with it and see where it looks good to you and leave it there. You can follow these steps as well. Click on color mixer and click on color mixer. Move the orange slider to the left. Now again just follow this step and experiment with this slider and see where it looks good and just leave it there. Click on effect to expand it and add a little bit of vintage effect to the image. Bring the vintage slider a little bit to the right to add the vintage effect. You can experiment with these 4 sliders to make it more dramatic. Click on OK and give it a few more tweaks to make the image look more interesting. Here is the final result of this image. I hope you like this tutorial and make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon for more amazing Photoshop photo manipulation tutorials. And if there's anything you don't understand, then let me know in the comment below. And see you in the next video.